Maybe not.
Welcome, everyone. Please excuse me not wearing a bow tie for this particular year, given the formality. Welcome those who have braved the conditions outside. And what I mean by that is various people wearing England kits and screaming it's coming home, classically English, even though the World Cup hasn't yet kicked off. For us, certainly, in terms of England, nevertheless, they are convinced, much like any given Ashes series, that of course they will win it. Little do they know that they are due to be sportingly surprised once again. Having said that, we are starting a new series, much like the England football team and cricket team, quite possibly. And our series is Keys to Growth, as put on the group, which in the parlance of the book that we are going through is Midas and general growth. So we're going to inch through it. There's a lot to do, Baruch Hashem. We're definitely not going to finish it before we have a summer break, which I can reveal exclusively to you all. That summer break will, please God, start on the second Monday in July. I've forgotten the date. I'm worse than the aforementioned rabbi. The 14th of July, we will not, no,
15th of July is the Wednesday.
So the 13th of July will not, the last year for the summer will be the 6th of July.
The week of the 6th. Okay.
I believe so, because I am in America on the 13th, and the 20th is, I think it's a bit too late. I'm actually back here, but then I'm off the next week. So let's call it at the 6th of July, unless there's tremendous requests to do a pre-Tisha B'Av share on the 20th, which I don't mind doing. Okay, people, let's go. If I had to ask you, I mean, everyone here, that's all three, what do you feel the most important factors are for growth in life? In other words, if someone accosted you on the street and said, right, what are the things that prevent people growing? I'm keeping it particularly general, religious growth and or otherwise. What are the factors that contribute most to growth, meaning personal development in life? And what are the biggest hindrances? Now, of course, you've thought about this for hours before they've asked you, and you've been desperate for someone to ask you for years now, and therefore your pre-prepared answer is absolutely perfect. What is it?
You've got to want to learn.
Okay, nice. And as you've got to want to learn. I like that.
I wonder if there's something about you've got to overcome challenge.
Nice. Overcoming challenge. Not distinct from wanting to learn. That's learning, experiential learning, and learning from experience. Great. Keep going. Keep going.
It helps if in any previous learning you've actually had people who know how to do it to make it mean something to you. So a good teacher.
Nice. Okay, role modeling and teaching. Great. Keep going. It's all good. I should really create a mind map of this.
Yes.
The
ability to reflect as well, because you've got to. I think one has to reflect on what's gone on and what one's learned, because it's not all about being in a teaching environment or being in a discussion or reading a great book. What you've also got to absorb it yourself, and some of that is from actually reflecting and stopping and thinking about things and working things out.
Great, great. In other words, it's not just about the information; it's about your capacity and ability to take that in.
Yeah.
Right. Did you hear that? Sorry, there was a car that thought it was the Edgware A41 Grand Prix and seemed to have been.
About the same time as one thought. Yeah, same around here. Yeah.
Oh, really? Maybe that one's in the lead. Okay, good.
What about something about analyzing, maybe even self-analysis, try and work out what went well, what didn't go well. You need to have that ability to understand you as well.
Great. Okay, good. And understanding yourself. Very good. Hi, Jeremy. All right?
Good, thanks. How are you? Sorry, mouth was full.
It's good. All right. I'll just bring you back into picture. We are asking what the biggest hindrance to growth in life is, and or what the thing one needs, what the central things one needs to grow in life are. So you can either do positive or negative. We had quite a few so far. We've had learning, we've had challenges, we've had role models, we'll have ability to take in the information. Gideon, you were just saying?
Yeah, the ability to analyze, particularly self-analysis, to work out what went well, what you need to improve on.
Great, great. Yeah, self-analysis, introspection, reflection, knowing what went well. SWOT, internal SWOT analysis, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good. What else? What about if I said mindset? In other words, we've done the world of action very correctly and nicely. In other words, it's learning, it's having a teacher. What about in terms of what's the mindset that one needs to cultivate? If
One
there
has
is
to have
one.
an open mind and to accept things that probably are not what you would normally go for, and to then say, well, hang on a moment, can you just, and then discuss it to get the teacher or the other person's take on it, and work it out between the two or more of you as to what it's all about, where it comes from, and how applicable it is to the individual.
Great. I like that. Very good. Not too dissimilar to what Sue was saying, just internally. In other words, ability to actually make it part of you, take it in.
I was thinking about something slightly different component to everything we've talked about now. I mean, you were talking about mindsets. I think there's something called the growth mindset, but I was thinking about a different idea, which is goals. You know, if you want to grow, I think you have to set yourself a target.
Interesting. That's really interesting. You know what? I'm actually going to pick up on that one, if you don't mind, Gideon. You have to set yourself a target. I get that. Now, what happens if you can't see where you're going? Meaning, if it's running, for example, yeah, close to my heart. If it's running, so there's an easy target. If it's football, there's a target. I'd like to win. I'd like to cover X amount within X time, whatever it is, right? If it's something a bit less, one can calibrate less, and it's a little bit more refined. How do you do that? Let's say, for example, a relationship. So what is there a relationship goal? It's a bit hard. It's a bit, do you know what I mean? It's a bit less. There's no like Richter scale for for relationships.
But you can maybe break it down into sort of more measurable components, like I don't know, be more strict on making sure once every whatever time you go and spend quality time with your spouse, or like there are things that you can do that maybe
that's metrics. Yeah. But is that the thing, or is that just that the thing is happening? Do you know what I mean?
But there's,
I think it maybe helps you achieve the goal, because that's a mechanism for you to make the objective something that happens.
you have to have some kind of definition for yourself as to what that growth is. I want to be able to do.
By the way, I'm waiting for the part of the share where you teach us something.
Please. Reflective learning.
Reflective learning.
Gideon, by the way, your screen is off. Do you know that? I personally don't mind.
It's because I'm eating, so I don't want to.
Okay, I hear that.
Okay, thank you. I think I agree. You need some kind of goal, but what it is and how specific is up to the individual. So it could be I want to take part in a half-hour sharing and get a nugget of something, or I might specifically want to study that book, that track, whatever it is, and understand it more, or I want to learn more about how to do that part better, whatever that part might be. I want to have a better relationship. You've got to define what that means. Where are you now, and where do you want to get? What does better mean to you? Because our definition of better and your definitions, if all of us would come up with something slightly different.
Go on, Jeremy. What were you saying?
No, I was going to agree. That's what I was thinking. Like, doesn't it depend how you define growth or learning in the first place?
Absolutely does. Certainly does. Yeah. Good call. And what type of growth we're talking about?
Yeah.
100%. Okay, so I'm going to leave you all for tonight. Gideon, I'm joking. Okay, so I'd like to add a couple of points over here. Everything you said is totally right and correct and true. It's not, they're all correct. I want to go a little bit prerequisite, primordial in terms of kind of the attitude to growth. So I'm going to share my screen. Now, last time I did it wrong. I want to share a tab. That's what I want to do. I want to share a tab. Second. And it's going to be this tab. Oh, can you see me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, can you see the screen?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, great. So I think the first area of growth is something about you. Now, let's start with religious or spiritual growth, and then I want to go to general growth if we can, which is like this. I think the first element of real growth, and I'll break it down a little bit more actually, is firstly the belief that it is possible. Yeah, it's possible. Because if you come in thinking, well, it's not possible, then it probably isn't going to happen, especially for growth, which is a little bit more hard to define. Right? In other words, if growth means getting beyond the mountain that I can see, then if you don't believe you can do it, then you're never going to push past that mountain. I mean that both practically and very much metaphorically as well. Right? Meaning, let's say you really want to grow in, I don't know, being an honest person. You don't really know what it's like to live at that level of honesty. You don't, right? When you reach there, it's a different world, so to speak. Odessa writes this, that every midder improvement, you're almost living in a different world. Right? I don't mean that in a Kabbalistic sense. I mean, just your constructs are totally different. Right? I'll just give you a silly example. Let's say, again, let's take honesty as an example. So you are working on your honesty and you've got to a very, very high degree of honesty. That means that things that for others would not be considered dishonest, for you are. Right? So, I don't know, causing any form of false impression. Right? I'm not saying this is legally prohibited, but, I know a story of a certain rabbi once who refused to have gold-plated candlesticks or something like that. Right? Because he said it's a lie. They look gold and they're not gold. It's gold plated. Right? So again, for us, that's not a thing. Right? We don't care about that too much because that's not the level that we occupy. Right? So you're entering a different world. If you can't believe you're ever going to get anywhere further than that I can see at best, you're never going to get there. I think there's something even more internal than that, which is like this. I actually got a very, very nice quote from Rav Sadia Gaon. Rav Sadia Gaon is one of the oldest individuals we quoted in the shir. Anyone know around when he lived? Without looking at Google or asking Alexa or Siri or whoever?
1500s.
So earlier than that, he was actually prior to the Rambam. I think he may have been prior to Rashi as well. So I think we are 10th century. Actually, I haven't looked it up. I think we're around 10th century. I think a lot of his works did not survive the test of time, meaning I think he wrote on much more than we have, unfortunately, nowadays of him. But one of his amazing...
This is a very strange quote, though. I'm just reading the English, obviously. The soul is brighter than the brightest stars. But, I mean, you can hardly see the stars.
Yeah, but they're very bright. They are. But he's not saying without the Hubble telescope. I mean, he's not. The stars are bright, right?
Well, they would have been back then because we've got so much filth in the atmosphere. You can't actually see anything. Whereas I'm sure that.
Okay, but I mean, he also would have seen the sun. He also would have seen the sun, and surely it would be a much more powerful quote to say the soul is brighter than the brightest sun.
Interesting. Well, I mean, there's only one sun, but yeah.
Well, except that the sun is a star.
Well, I mean, all of the stars are suns. Maybe they wouldn't have known that then, but even so, he would have known about the sun, and that's far brighter than the star. So if the whole point is to talk about brightness, why are you going to the stars, which you can? Okay, I take the point about light pollution, but even so, to call them bright is not. If you've been in the middle of the desert,
objectively, forget Jewish stuff here. I didn't think we were talking about this. Objectively, they are bright. Hence, you can see them from ages away, right? They're just not blindingly bright like the sun.
And you only see them at night time. So I can understand somebody thinking how wonderfully bright the stars are with the myriad of stars that appear at night time, and again without the light pollution. The night times are probably in some ways the only brightness you're going to get is from the stars because the sun has
look,
dawn.
okay, I guess we can move on, but my point would simply be that even in the times without light pollution, or if you go into the middle of the Negev desert at night, you can't read a book by starlight because it's not that bright. And therefore, if
Yes, true. Yes.
Rav Sajigon is
Maybe
talking about
'cause
brightness, I doubt in some way isn't talking about the sun.
Maybe because it's sort of a trope that's already used in the Torah, promising that will be as numerous as the stars of the sky.
Yeah, I think that's so. Meaning, Gideon, I'll move your question over a little bit. It wasn't exactly where we were going tonight, which is the very specific.
Can I just say my issue with it is more that
yes,
stars shouldn't be plural
why?
because it's the soul is, so it should be brighter than the brightest star.
Oh, I see. Well, no, you can compare one thing to many things, surely. My sun is brighter than my sun is more athletic.
True, but if you're going to make
the
point, why not say than the brightest star?
I see. So right, okay, I hear that. Right. I mean, it's not grammatically incorrect. It's just not necessary. I hear.
I'm just being facetious.
Yeah, it's okay.
None of us are as philosophical as this, are we?
More philosophical, yeah. It does. He does say that the soul is compared to stars, which is interesting. I don't know if the soul is compared to the sun, Gideon. So your question is not really on him; it's really on the psukim. I wonder if that's because there are lots of discernible stars. In other words, there's lots of them. I wonder if that's part of the comparison. There are lots of stars, lots of souls, that kind of thing. Okay, be that as it may, is a slight tangent. He says, when we perform mitzvahs, we empower the soul. When we sin, we defile the soul. Now, I'm not sure what defiling the soul means, whether you actually change your soul or whether you're just covering it over. Yeah, but I think the key area over here, and I think it's a key growth area, so I want to start with it, is that deep down and internally, we are good people. That is a really key thing. In other words, other religions may claim that we're born into sin, right? Other religions may claim that we start with a spiritual chip on our back, or we have, we need to, atone for various misdemeanors, all that kind of area of non-Jewish philosophical thought. We don't do that. We say we're born pure. I'm not sure if anyone is of legal good memory and competence. In 2000, I think it was, when I was studying, there was a case in Ireland, I think, but I can't remember. It was A versus conjoined twins, where basically the family, who were religious Christians, they had born to them conjoined twins, Siamese twins, we used to call them, and one of them was certain to die, unfortunately, and the family did not want the operation to be performed. It was a religious Catholic family, I think. Now I forget exactly how it worked out, but part of the argument was since the kids were born into sin, the obligation to save them or something was less, something like that. Whereas the state wanted to compel them to have the operation, and that was kind of the fulcrum of the case. Was that, can the state compel a parent to have an operation like that? Very interesting. In fact, at some point, various Jewish sources are quoted by Lord Justice Ward, if I'm not mistaken. In fact, he actually quoted the Jewish opinion according to Rashi, but not the Rambam, even though we seem to go with the Rambam. But anyway, not the point. It's another shit. But point being, we believe emphatically that we are born pure. That means we're born good. Now, what does that mean? That means we have an inner drive to do good. Now, why is that important? So it's not only important because it means I can do it, it's important for the following reason, that it's part of me. So let me give you an example. Actually, not sure we're going to get through many more sources, so I'm going to stop sharing the screen. It's an intro week, what can we do? It basically goes as follows. The legend has it that at some point, Coca-Cola in one of the provinces in Israel, the South area, whatever it was, the local franchise approached another famous local franchise, namely Chabad, for marketing advice. And they said, Chabad, you seem to be doing things really well. You open up your tefillin stands and you've got loads of people raring to go. Now, what is the secret of your success? Yeah. And the legend continues that Chabad turned around to the Coca-Cola fellow, sales rep or whatever it was, marketing, I don't know, head, and said, there's a difference between us and you. It goes as follows. Nobody has Coca-Cola going through their veins. Some Americans probably do, to be honest, right? But no one has Coca-Cola going through their veins. You are trying to engender, you're trying to impose something external into their system, right? They may be thirsty and there are plenty of drinks. You're trying to convince them that Coca-Cola is the one, right? Whereas the things that we're teaching them, in a connection to Hashem and Emunah, the various whatever they were teaching them, connection to mitzvahs, people already have that as pre-programmed into their souls. Now, they may have covered that over with various levels of whatever you want to call it, soot or whatever it is, repellent. That's okay. That's people's free choice in life. And we did a whole unit about free choice. Having said that, that doesn't detract from the fact that we're not imposing new concepts. We're actually exposing them to things that are already part of them. Fair argument? Okay. I think that then the relationship broke down, or at least that was the end of the conversation. Be that as it may, I think a key component of spiritual growth, and any growth, to be honest, is this something that you already have as part of you, or is this a new thing that you're seeking to learn? Right? Someone who's already run one marathon and then is training for a second is in a totally different position than if they've never run a marathon or never run at all. Right? Because they're not seeking to learn a new skill. They're seeking to rediscover or unearth something that they're already very good at. Right? Or something that they were once very good at. You know what I mean? Right? Someone who is striving to grow religiously is not really seeking to do something radically new other than it's not that which they're used to. But in terms of the basic skills and attachment and sense that I am good and therefore I want to do good and I can do this, that is part of them anyway. Right? It's a key area. It's also a key area with parenting as well. Are you, in any given discipline, are you trying to teach them something new? Or is this something that you have a natural attachment to, you're just uncovering it?
Yeah.
Okay, so that is, I would say, key area. We're going to expand on this, please God, next week. It's been a bit short this week, I apologize. But please God, we're going to continue with some of the sources and some really, really good bits to learn, please God, next week. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Cheers, everyone.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you.